Welcome to Cat and Jess Talk the Best, where we're going to be talking about IMDb's top 250 movies from April 12th, 2018. My name is Kat.
And I'm Jess.
And today we are talking about The Hunchback of Notre Dame, an animation drama family film from 1996. And this has a 6.9 on 135,105 views. So, the spoiler-free synopsis: an animated Disney adventure follows disfigured Quasimodo, the bell ringer of Notre Dame Cathedral, who bides his time locked away in a tower. With only gargoyles to keep him company, Quasimodo longs to be with other people, leading to his chance encounter with the enchanting Gypsy Esmeralda. When the beautiful young woman catches the attention of Quasimodo's guardian, sinister Frollo, Quasimodo must help to keep her out of his clutches.
Yeah. So this is directed by two people, Gary Trollstad and Kirk Wise. They've also directed one on our list. God, I can't think of the number. Beauty and the Beast and Atlantic: The Lost Empire. And this is voice acting wise, but done by Tom Hulce, Tony J, and Demi Moore.
Yep. So, the ratings for this. On IMDb, 30.6% of users that rated this rated it at a 7. On Metacritic, it has a 74%. Rotten Tomatoes, it has a 71% on 56 critical reviews. So, two of the fresh. Gene Siskel. These ideas are presented with effective songs and, yes, tasteful bits of humor. And then Richard Corliss. The result is a grand cartoon cathedral teeming with gargoyles and treachery, hopeless love and tortured lust. And then The Rotten. Jonathan Rosenbaum. Surely one of Disney's ugliest and least imaginative efforts.
What? How is it least imaginative? You're talking gargoyles, for God's sakes.
I don't know. Then John F. Kelly. Disney has created a movie that, like Quasimodo himself, is half-formed.
Rude.
So the consensus: Disney's take on the Victor Hugo classic is dramatically uneven, but its strong visuals, dark themes, and message of tolerance make for a more sophisticated than average children's film. So, the money. The budget for this film was $100 million. Domestically, it made $100,138,851. Internationally, it made $225,200,000 for a worldwide total of $325,338,851. Its opening weekend, it made $21,037,414. Its top lifetime adjusted grosses, adjusted to 2020, it is number 543.
It's not too bad.
Nope. So the awards, this was nominated for 1 Oscar. It had 8 other wins and 21 other nominations. So the Oscar that it was nominated for was Best Music or Original Musical or Comedy Score. It did not win that one. And then also for the Golden Globes, it was nominated for Best Original Score Motion Picture. So for both of those, let's see what it got beat by. So for the Oscars, it was in the category with Emma, James and the Giant Peach, The First Wives Club, and The Preacher's Wife. And the one that won was the Emma. The composer was Rachel Portman. Never seen that movie, so I don't know.
I haven't either.
And then the Golden Globes, it was in the category with The English Patient, Michael Collins, Shine, and The Mirror Has Two Faces. The English Patient won that year. won for the Golden Globes. So, at least it was nominated.
That's true, for like 2 big ones. For music.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's all the awards. So initial thoughts?
I don't remember the first time I watched this. I really don't. Probably when I was little, right around when it came out. I have always loved this movie, but as I've gotten older and I've studied more music, I've really grown to appreciate this movie. Especially music-wise. I think this is probably one of my favorite musical scores of all the movies.
Interesting.
Yes. It's a beautiful score. And it just, like, it's so well done in the movie, and it hits just at the right points that it needs to. It's beautiful. Story-wise, I mean, yeah, it's supposed to be based off The Hunchback of Notre Dame, which is a really thick novel. So you can only get, like, so much out of it because it's a kid's movie.
Yeah.
Overall, I love this movie. Again, my favorite part of it is the music. And of course, there's some funny parts in this, especially from the Captain Phoebus in this movie. I like him a lot because, it's Kevin Kline, and I like Kevin Kline. And also, I would say he's probably one of my favorite villains of all time, also. I would say Frollo is just, he's my favorite, mostly because he's just so freaking evil.
Okay. I don't remember the first time I watched this either. I mean, I remember watching it when I was little. It definitely was not one of my favorites. I didn't watch it a ton. And I haven't seen it since I was little, so this is the first time I've watched it since I was little. And I mean, for me, it's not my favorite. It's not really up there. It's good. Like, I don't really have bad things to say about it. Some of the animation doesn't quite hold up, but I mean, that's what happens with the 90s animated movies. But, I mean, I like most of the music in this, but not all of it, and it's not really my favorite story. It's just kind of in the middle for Disney movies for me. It's not my least favorite, and it's not my absolute favorite. It's just kind of there in the middle for Disney movies for me.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
Alright, that was your warning. If you haven't watched the film yet, then stop listening and come back after you've watched it. So, we start off, we're in Paris, and it's kind of like the Middle Ages time. And we see a gypsy named
Clopin. The Bells of Notre Dame.
So he's doing this little puppet show and for the kids and stuff that are there. So the bells are ringing and stuff, and he's kind of like saying who the bell ringer is. He's like telling a little tale about who's ringing the bells type thing.
It's in the song.
Yeah.
And the song is talking about there's these four gypsies that are trying to sneak out of Paris because they keep getting persecuted. And they're trying to sneak out, but they get trapped. It was a trap.
Yeah.
And then you get to meet Judge Claude Frollo, who is, the bad guy.
Yeah.
And Frollo is, like, trying to, arrest him and everything. And he sees this woman, and she's holding, like, this, like, package. It looks like a baby, but he doesn't know. And, he thinks it's something stolen.
Yeah.
And so she runs for it. And she's just chasing her on his horse. And she is running. She runs to Notre Dame. And she's, like, banging on the door, trying to get in, asking for sanctuary.
Yeah.
But Frollo's right after her, and he grabs the wrappings of the babies, and, he tosses her on the steps, and she hits her head really hard and kills her.
Yeah.
He's looking at this thing. He's like, oh, what is this? It's like an ugly-ass baby. And so he's going to go dump it in the Well, but then the archdeacon comes out, and he's like, what have you done? You just killed a person right on the steps of the church.
Yeah.
And he's telling him, he's like, they're watching. It's like, so you're going to have to, raise this on you. We're going to have to raise this child.
Yeah.
And Frollo's like, I'll raise him, but I want him to stay in Notre Dame, in the bell tower.
Yeah.
And he names the child Quasimodo, which means half-form.
Yep.
And then, you see the little puppets climbing up, and he's slowly growing. He's like a little kid, then he turns into like a young man in the puppets as he's climbing up the bells, and he's ringing the bells as a puppet.
Yep. So it shows him like as an adult, and he's out on his balcony because he lives up in the bell tower, like you said, because he lives in Notre Dame, and he is the one that rings the bells, Quasimodo is, and we see his face, and he has a hunched back, and his face is kind of messed up and deformed. And he is talking to this little bird, asking it if it's going to fly today. And the bird is like, I don't know about that. And he's kind of egging it on, like trying to encourage it and stuff. Even though he's jealous that the bird can leave and he has to stay in the tower.
And he's talking about the Feast of Fools,
Yep.
the Festival of Fools. He's like, it's a great day to start flying.
Yep.
It's a great day because it's the Feast of Fools. And so, of course, the little bird flies away and everything, and you see these gargoyles wake up.
Yep. And I like the transformation between the gargoyles, like when they're still and when they're moving around.
Yes.
I like that they make them seem like they make like the animation different between the two of them, because they've got when they're sitting still, they just look like they're stone, like they did a good job of making them look stone. But then when they're up and moving around, they've got that kind of, it's similar animation, like it's in the animation style of the movie, but it's got that kind of cartoony feel to it, and they are kind of just fun characters.
It's like, yep, gargoyles, Laverne, Victor, and Hugo.
Yeah.
And, they're, like, talking about it. Like, they're talking with Quasi and everything. And, Quasi just tired of just watching everything. He wants to be part of it.
Yeah. So they're kind of encouraging him to go down there. And he's like, oh, I don't know about that.
He's like, I can't because of Frollo.
Yep.
Because that's his master. Because Frollo doesn't want him to go out. He says he's forbidden to leave the tower.
Yeah. And especially because Frollo hates the festival, So actually, he's about ready to go. He's about to go down to the festival when Frollo comes up to the tower, and he's ready to have lunch. And they're going over the alphabet, because at least Frollo is teaching Quasimodo the alphabet.
It's a terrible alphabet.
Yeah.
But it's an alphabet.
He's still learning words.
It's like abomination, blasphemy,
Damnation.
like damnation, eternal damnation.
Yeah. And then he says festival for F, and Frollo gets mad because he thinks that he's gonna go down there, and Quasimodo lies and says, "Oh no, I'm not gonna go down there."
And like, of course, Frollo guilt trips him. He's like, I've raised you, trying to leave and all that. He's like, because your mother abandoned you and all that.
Yeah.
I've been the only person to look after you and everything. And this is where we get a song, and Frollo's telling him that the world doesn't like him. He won't like him.
Yeah.
Because he's ugly. And that he should stay inside where it's safe.
Yeah.
And no one will be around him. And then it leads into the song called Out There. Mm-hmm. And because this is after Frollo leaves. And Quasi's like, but I want to go out there. I want to go to the festival. And he wonders what it's like to be outside. He wants to see it at least once.
Yeah.
And he'll be content. Just let me go outside once. Let me go be around people for once, and then I'll be content.
Yeah. So he does end up going down there. We get to see, the festival's going on, and we've got the puppet master guy. He's out there doing a little show, and then Esmeralda's out there doing a show and stuff. And he's like running around trying to not be seen, but he keeps getting attention attracted to him.
Well, you have to meet Phoebus. So you actually get to see like your first glimpse of Esmeralda also. So you see, there's gypsies, like dancing in the street and everything. Esmeralda's one of them. And, the guards are trying to take the money and everything. And Captain Phoebus, who has just showed up, he's the new captain of the guard. He shows up, like protects them and everything, the gypsies. And he's just trying to figure out where the hell the Palace of Justice is. That's where Frollo has a bunch of, like prisoners and all of that.
Yeah.
And so he gets to Phoebus gets to the palace, and he sees Frollo is telling this, I forgot about this part, telling a guard how to whip somebody. I was like, oh my god, I forgot this was in this movie. And so he's like, Frollo's talking with Phoebus. He's like, I expect a lot from my captain of the guard, And he's like, I need you to help me wipe out the gypsies. And help me find the Court of Miracles, which is where all the gypsies are at.
Yeah.
It's like, then we get to Quasi to the festival.
Yeah, so he's down there, and he's trying not to have all the attention on him, but, of course it keeps getting attracted to him and stuff. And they're doing the King of Fools, like, crowning thing.
The topsy-turvy song.
Yeah, and they're pulling people up to the stage, and Quasimodo gets pulled up to the stage
by Esmeralda.
Yeah.
Because she thinks that he's wearing a mask.
Yeah. And so all these people get pulled up there, and they're like taking the masks off of them, and then they like try to take the mask off Quasimodo, and it's not a mask, and everyone is like scared and shocked and horrified about this, and somebody's saying that's the bell ringer of Notre Dame. And then all of a sudden, Frollo noticed, because he hadn't noticed him at first, but now he notices that Quasimodo's up there, and he is not happy.
He's like, he snuck out, he didn't listen to me.
Yeah. So Quasimodo starts to cry, and he's like trying to hide his face and stuff, but the puppet master guy, he's encouraging the crowd not to be scared, because
like,
this is their King of Fools. Like, he has the ugliest face in all of Paris, so they're gonna crown him the King of Fools.
Yep, they crown him, they raise him up, parade him around, and they put him on, like, this stand that has, like, that wheel.
Yeah.
That spins.
And they're all, like, celebrating and chanting his name and stuff, except for the guards who, like to harass everyone. They're the ones who were earlier harassing Esmeralda. Throw a tomato at Quasimodo and hit him in the face. And then all the guards start throwing stuff, and then the rest of the crowd is just like shocked at first, and then they start laughing about it.
And they start throwing ropes on him, and like one around his arms and his neck, and they tie him down, and they're pinning him down, and they just spin him around. And Quasi's like calling out, for Frollo to help him, and still nothing.
Yeah. And so Esmeralda goes up there, and she's trying to stop it.
And she's like, I'm so sorry about all this. I didn't meant this to go this far and everything.
Yeah.
This is just cruel at this point. And she's yelling at Frollo after she unties him and everything.
Yeah.
And she's like, this is how you treat him, this is how you treat the rest of us.
Yeah. And so Frollo is pissed off, and he's like trying to get her to come down, and she won't. So he sends guards after her, including Phoebus, saying that she needs to be arrested. But, she's not having it, so she starts running around and doing tricks and stuff, like her smoky tricks, like disappearing act thing. And
she's quite good at it.
Yeah, the guards can't catch her. And so, of course, Frollo is pissed. Phoebus is in love. And the guards are continuing to search for her.
I like that little sneak in there. That was good. Quasi goes back to Notre Dame. He's like, you know what? He's like, I'll beat down and everything. He's like, I'm not going to leave again. I'm done. He goes back into there. And you see Esmeralda sneaks into the church as well.
Yeah.
There's her little goat. And Phoebus follows in. And, like, he tries to sneak up on her. But that doesn't work. She steals his sword.
Yeah.
And he takes it back from her. And she grabs, was it a candelabra or something?
Yeah, like a big, huge, tall one.
And they're fighting.
Yeah.
And flirting at the same time.
Yeah, she thinks that he's, like, trying to arrest her, and he just wants to talk to her and get to know her.
He's like, I'm Phoebus.
Yeah.
You can't arrest her because she's in a church.
Yeah. Well, I mean, at this point, he can, because she hasn't claimed sanctuary. Because when Frollo comes in, he's, like, telling her, you need to claim sanctuary. Because Frollo's about to have her arrested. And so Phoebus turns around and says, oh, I can't do anything. She's claimed sanctuary, even though she didn't. But he tells Frollo that, so Frollo can't do anything. Because the archdeacon hears that, and he comes, and he's like, you know better than this, Frollo. You remember what happened.
He's like, he pulls out that card. I'm like, oh, snap, he did it. And so Frollo's like, he's like, okay, I'll walk in out. But then he sneaks around, and he pins Esmeralda's arm behind her back.
Yeah.
He's like, I'll get you out of here, you know. Super creepy about it, too.
Yeah.
Like, even, like, smells her hair. I'm like...
Yeah.
And she's like, I know what you're thinking.
Yeah. So, he tells his guards and stuff to man every door, and that if she comes out, to arrest her immediately. So, she's stuck in there.
Yeah, and so she's like... She's talking with the archdeacon, and... She's like, why are they treating like everyone like, why does he treat people like that, you know? And he's telling me, he's like, well, you can't fix the world by yourself.
Yeah.
And this is where you get the song, God Help the Outcast.
Yeah.
And she's just talking about, you know, in a sense, it's a little prayer for her. And she's talking about praying to, like, for all the people who are different, the outcasts, the people, you know, who are outside of society. And then you hear, like, these people praying for themselves, selfish things, and she's not a selfish person. She really isn't. She's just asking for others, you know. It's just a little prayer. It's a beautiful song. And you see that Quasimodo's been listening this entire time.
Yep.
And he's like, oh crap, she saw me. So he sneaks back away. He sneaks back up to his tower, and she follows him. Yeah. Trying to apologize.
Yep, she gets up there, and she's with the goat is still with her. I like the goat. He's cute.
Goat is very cute. I like its earring.
So she goes up there, and she's, like, talking to him and stuff, and he's showing her around, showing her the bells and everything. And he's like, they all have names. One of them is Big Marie. The big one is. And then there's a little Marie, of course. And he's just showing her and, like, kind of showing her his world, like, how he sees Paris.
You know, he shows her, like, the top. He's like, the best view. Yeah. Because it's the top of Notre Dame. That thing is huge. So you see all of Paris. Yeah.
And she's, like, trying to figure out how he thinks he's evil. Because he's said it a couple of times. And then he also says something about gypsies being evil. And she kind of gets upset about it. And she's like... looking at his hand and, like, his lifeline and stuff, saying he's gonna have a nice long life, but there's no monster line or something like that.
And he tells her, you know, that Frollo is his master and everything, and she's like, well, he's wrong about both of us. Yeah. And so he's like, he's like, you can stay with me up here. And she's like, yeah, no, that's not gonna happen. I need to get out.
Yeah, she's like, I can't be trapped in here.
And he's like, I can take you down. Yeah. Like, no big deal. And so he picks her up. She has the goat. she tries to cover the goat's eyes with, like, a little cloth, but that didn't work. And he, like, carries him down.
Yep.
And she, like, right out, like, down to, like, ground level, pretty much, so she can just, like, walk away.
Yeah.
And, she's like, well, why don't you come with me? And he's like, I can't, I have to be here. I have to ring for the different masses and all of that, and Frollo. And she's like, okay, well, I'll come visit you. She's like, but if you ever need a sanctuary, and come here. And she gives him this necklace that she has on. And it's like, looks like I don't know. I always call it like a fish looking thing. And it looks like a map.
I think, to me, it looks like a dream catcher.
Well, yeah, but I was saying like the shape. It's like a dream catcher, but like a fish shape.
Oh.
That's what I always thought of it.
Like, as soon as I noticed it, I was like, that's the shape of the city.
And she tells him, like, hey, you have, like, the city in your hand or something like that.
Yeah.
She tells him, like, this little thing to go with it, so he knows exactly what it would be.
Yeah. So she leaves because they hear guards coming and stuff, so she's leaving, and then he climbs back up to his tower. And when he gets up there, Phoebus is up there, and he's asking if Quasimodo knows where Esmeralda went, and he's like, oh yeah, she just left.
And he's trying to tell him to give her a message.
Yeah.
He's like, I wasn't just trying to protect her. I wasn't trying to trap her or anything like that. He's like, because she would have been killed if, she would have walked out.
Yeah. Even though Quasimodo's, like, trying to protect her, because he thinks Phoebus is there to do something bad. But he's like, no, I just want to help. And she's lucky to have a friend like you, I think.
Yes.
Is what he says. And
yeah.
Quasimodo doesn't believe him, so he kicks his butt.
Kicks him out, really.
Yeah. He's pretty friggin' strong.
Oh, yeah. He's very strong. It's like, he may be, like, misshapen and everything, but that doesn't mean that he's not strong.
Yeah.
And so after that, we get the song Heaven's Light. And this is where Quasimodo, he's talking about Esmeralda and everything, hoping that she's, caring for him, she'd care for him at some point. And, he's never thought that he'd, like, meet somebody or find somebody, that would just care for him as for him.
Yeah.
Because he's always been the person, oh no, look at, like, the weird misshapen person.
Yeah. But so yeah, he does his little song, and while he's singing, he is doing one of his little wood carvings for her, or
yes.
of her, and then he places it next to his, and he's dreaming, basically.
Yeah. And then he goes and rings the bells, and there's people at, it's evening mass, so of course there's people there. And then it zooms through, like, the stained glass, that huge stained glass of Notre Dame, and it zooms through it, and it leads you to Frollo's place, where he's at. And this is where you get the song Hellfire.
Yeah. This is one of the songs that I do like a lot.
One of my favorite songs. I will say that.
I usually really like the villains' songs in Disney movies, and this one holds true to that.
Oh, yeah. It's like, I think behind Friend Like Me is probably my second favorite. Yeah. But yeah, this is Hellfire. And so Frollo is how do I say this? This is probably one of the darkest Disney songs, I'll say. So he's saying that he's, in a sense, he's lusting after Esmeralda. And he's like, I'm trying to be pure, but this woman, a woman's making me think these impure thoughts and all of that.
Yeah. So he decides that the solution is to burn down Paris to find her.
It's like if she won't be with me, if she won't be here with me, then she's just gonna burn.
Yeah. And
he's like, and he finds out that she left Notre Dame, and he's like, you know what? Fine, I'll burn down the whole damn city fighting her. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy is crazy, but such a great villain song. I even wrote in my notes, Jesus Christ, that's a dark song. Then it goes to the next day, and Frollo's keeping true to his word. He is, rounding up gypsies, looking for Esmeralda, trying to bribe them to tell him where she's at, and they're not saying.
Yeah.
And he even does. This one's pretty dark. So he's at it's a miller's house. And he's like, oh, I see there's a gypsy thing here, been helping the gypsies out and everything,
Yeah.
And asking about her, nothing. And so he locks all the people in their house.
Yeah.
And he's trying to get Phoebus to burn the house down.
But he says no, and he puts the little fires, the torch in the water bucket and, like, starts to walk off.
And so Frollo does it himself.
Yep. And then, of course, that makes Phoebus mad, and he's, like, protesting it and stuff, and that makes Frollo even more mad, and he's trying to get his guards to kill him, and so Phoebus runs off, and the guards are all shooting their arrows at him. One of them does hit him, and he falls into the river, and so Frollo thinks that, that Phoebus is dead, so, he's just like, leave him, let him drown.
Yeah, he does get the family out, by the way.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, and so Esmeralda's been watching this entire thing, in a disguise. And so she goes and gets Phoebus out of the water.
Yeah.
And you see after that, Paris is just, like, on fire. Like, the entire city.
Yeah.
It's kind of ridiculous how bad that is. And so Quasi's up in Notre Dame, which is untouched. And she's looking out, like, with the gargoyles for Esmeralda. He's like, I wonder if she's okay and everything. He's like upset, wondering where she is. And the gargoyles are assuring him, through all this chaos, oh yeah, she likes you and everything. And so they have the song, of course. The song makes me giggle. It's called A Guy Like You. And they're talking about how, she likes you because you're different, you're unique.
Yeah.
And then it goes to, Esmeralda does show up at Notre Dame with Phoebus.
Yep.
And who's hurt. And she asks Quasi to hide Phoebus.
Yeah.
And she's trying to, she's fixing up Phoebus and everything. She pours some, wine or something on his wound first. He makes a little joke. And she's, trying to stitch him up and everything. He does a one-liner, and it works.
Yeah.
Because they kiss.
Yeah. I just find this whole situation here awkward, because they're sitting over there kissing in the corner, and he's just, watching them and bawling and, completely destroyed, and I'm just like, that's a little weird.
Yeah, he's just, watching this entire thing, because he's, watching, and then he sees him kissing, he's like, well, fuck.
Yeah. I don't know, I don't think he should have stood there. They should have showed him, walking away.
I think it was more, traumatized.
That whole situation right there was awkward, and I did not like that.
And then you see, Quasi's looking, he walks away, finally. He sees that Frollo is coming up.
Yeah.
And he's like, shit, you gotta get out. And so he tells Esmeralda to get out, and he hides Phoebus under the table.
Mm-hmm. And so Frollo's up there, and he brought him some grapes, and he's, talking to him, kind of trying to get information out of him, because he knows something's going on, and Phoebus is, under the table making noises, and Quasimodo's, trying to cover it up and stuff. And then Frollo notices the little wood carving of Esmeralda, and he recognizes her, and he gets really mad at Quasimodo, saying that he helped her escape, and he sets fire to the little wood things and Esmeralda's stuff, and knocks it all over and destroys it. And then he also blames Paris being on fire because of Quasimodo, because he helped her. I'm just
I'm you can't blame him. He hasn't done anything.
Yeah.
He's just being nice.
He's, like, still trying to convince Quasimodo that because she's a gypsy, she's bad, and, like, think of your mother, like, look at what she did and stuff.
And, he's saying that he's going to go attack, go to the Court of Miracles, because, he supposedly knows where it is.
Yeah.
And attack.
Yeah.
And so, he walks away, he leaves and everything. He smirks because he figures Quasi's going to go warn him.
Yeah.
So he can lead him to him. And Phoebus is there. He's like, well, we got to go tell him, And because he wakes up.
Yeah.
And Quasi's like, well, I don't think I should, We just heard what he said and everything. And, like, Phoebus gives him shit.
Yeah.
He's like, aren't you supposed to be, like, a friend? Aren't you supposed to be helping her out? You're just being a coward right now.
Yeah.
And then he's like, okay, fine. And so they go down, and he shows Phoebus the necklace that Esmeralda had given him. And he's like, well, it looks like a map.
Yep.
And they figure it out, and it leads them to the cemetery. And there's this grave, which has the mark that is on the little map that they have. And Phoebus is trying to decipher it, and Quasimodo just lifts the lid and just tosses it aside. And there's stairs.
Yep. And so they get down there to the Court of Miracles.
And catacombs.
Yeah. And so they have been caught by all of the gypsies that live down there because they think that Quasimodo and Phoebus are spies, even though they're there to warn them. And so they're getting ready to to do a hanging, and Esmeralda luckily stops them.
And she's like, no.
Yeah.
It's like, no, he stopped him from doing something, and he's the one who saved me. So,
yeah.
Stop it.
So, Phoebus, after she gets them down, warns Esmeralda and everybody that Frollo's about to attack. And, of course, then Frollo comes. Like, they're all getting ready to leave and stuff, like, getting all their stuff, because Phoebus says that they're going to be attacking at dawn. And, of course, like, right when they're about ready to leave, Frollo comes in and starts attacking them. And he's like, well, without Quasimodo's help, I never would have found this place. And so they're attacking and everything, and everybody's trying to run away and stuff, and Phoebus and Esmeralda think that, Quasimodo is a liar and that he helped him. He helped Frollo. So they get captured, and everybody that was down there gets captured, and they're gonna have a hanging and a burning the next day. So they're gonna burn these people alive, like the Salem witch trials.
And Quasi is chained up in the Notre Dame.
Yeah,
literally chained up. And Esmeralda, you see, this is like dawn, and you see Esmeralda is at the stake. Yeah. And Frollo's like, he comes up to her, he's like, you can save yourself if you want to. He's like, you can burn or you can be with me, pretty much. And she spits in his face. I'm like, good girl. Like, that's how you do it. He spit in their face.
Yeah, and the gargoyles, while they're watching all this, because Quasimodo's been tied up where he can see everything, the gargoyles are like trying to tell him, you can break free of these chains. You can go down there and help her. And he's just like not having it. And so they go back to their stone form and leave him alone. He's still kind of struggling a little bit, but he really doesn't have much effort behind it. So Frollo starts the fire that's supposed to kill Esmeralda. And because of this, like, everybody starts going crazy, and Quasimodo starts pulling the chains, and he's able to break free and get down there to save her.
Yep. He gets down there, saves her. He's, like, fighting off people and everything, and he takes her back right up to Notre Dame, right where he was, like, chained up and everything. And the music right here is perfect, because, it swells and it crescendos, and he lifts her up right at that big fortissimo, like, chorus note, and I'm like, oh, it blows my mind. It was just beautiful.
He's like screaming sanctuary because
Yes.
That's the only way that they're safe is if they ask for the sanctuary. So he puts her down on a bed, and then he goes back, and they're gonna get ready to defend the cathedral because now all the soldiers are coming towards it, even though, you know, the archdeacon is saying, you know, you can't come in here.
It's like, no. And so, like, Phoebus, he's like, you see what they're doing? They're attacking Notre Dame. And so he just rallies everyone up, and they just turn.
Yeah, it's just like this big, huge war. All-out war for Notre Dame. The soldiers are trying to get in, while all the townspeople are trying to stop them and stuff. And we get, like, this big, huge, at one point, the gargoyles are helping, and they're making this, I don't remember what it's called, the slingshot thing. They're making that, and they don't use it correctly. They just kind of throw it off the side of the cathedral, and it falls, and it lands next to some people, and then one, he goes, well, is that how it's supposed to be done? And then it, like, flips over and crushes a couple people, and he's like, yeah, I think that's how it works. We also get, like, this big molten waterfall, which is...
I thought it was, like, it's like molten. It's like, it looks almost like wax, too. It's just really bright.
Yeah, I really liked that
pouring
scene.
off the side of Notre Dame. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, I like that scene. But while all this is happening, all the soldiers have, like, backed up now, but Frollo is, like, dead set on getting in that cathedral, so he breaks the door enough for him to get in, and the archdeacon is trying to stop him, but, you know, Frollo's got his mind set, so he manages to get up to the top of the tower, and Quasimodo realizes that, you know, they've won, because he thinks that they've won, so he goes into the room Esmeralda's in, and he's, like, cheering and stuff, and, like, trying to wake her up, but she's not waking up, and he realizes that she's not alive, most likely.
It's like, she's pretty far gone. Not fully, but...
Water in her mouth and all that. And Frollo comes in the room, and he's talking to Quasimodo and stuff, saying, you know, this is what happens, blah, blah, blah. And he's really hiding a knife behind his back to kill Quasimodo. Of course, he's not very smart. The shadow on the wall shows Quasimodo that the knife is there, so Quasimodo turns around and attacks.
And he throws him off.
Yeah.
And Esmeralda does wake up at this point.
Yeah.
She's pretty weak, but she wakes up.
Yeah. So they're fighting and stuff, and Quasimodo and Esmeralda are, like, trying to get away from Frollo as they're fighting on these little, like, I don't even know, parapets on the cathedral, trying to get away. Esmeralda has luckily, you know, you said she woke up, and she has enough strength to help Quasimodo get back up on top of the cathedral, because he's kind of hanging by a limb right now.
And Frollo corners him, and he's talking about, you know, how Quasimodo's mother was a gypsy, and she had tried to save him.
Yeah.
He's like, I should have just done what I did 20 years ago. And he, he has his, you know, his cloak and everything, and he flings it on top of Quasimodo and, like, tries to fling him off the building. But it goes with him. And so, he flips over, too. And he's hanging on. And Quasimodo's hanging on. And Frollo tries to get on top of this, what was it? He used like a parapet or something.
Yeah.
And he's got his sword, and he's trying to slice at Esmeralda, like, trying to slice her head off, because she's trying to pull Quasimodo up.
Yeah.
And the thing starts crumbling, and he slips, and he hangs on, and then it just crumbles off, and he falls to his death.
Yep. And that's pretty much the end of the little battle thingy.
Yeah. And so Mrs. Esmeralda's trying to pull him up, but she can't get him all the way up, and so Quasimodo falls, but Phoebus is down below and catches him.
Yeah. So then, the next morning, Phoebus and Esmeralda come out of the cathedral, and everybody's cheering and stuff, and Quasimodo's just kind of watching, but Esmeralda, like, eggs him on, tells him to come out, and so he slowly walks out, but, you know, everybody continues to cheer, and they're happy that he helped save Paris and the cathedral and stuff.
And there's this little girl that comes up to Quasimodo. She's like, looks at him, and then she just gives him like this big hug. I'm like, aw.
Yep.
How cute. Like, they lead him in, like, through the crowd, and it's a good thing, you know, they're happy.
Yeah. And it's 3 cheers for Quasimodo, and everybody's cheering and happy, and they're carrying him on their shoulders, and
this is a reprise of the Bells of Notre Dame.
Yeah. And they finally accepted him.
Yeah, and it zooms out.
Yep, and that's the end of that. So the music for this, we have had this composer before. We had him on our list and in our last Disney event, Alan Menken. So we had him for Beauty and the Beast and Aladdin. For me personally, I don't think that this is his best work. I do think it's good music. I just don't like all of it. You really enjoy this music, and I do think that there are some really good songs, but I also think that he has better music, in my opinion.
I wasn't saying the songs, I was saying the score.
No, that's what I'm talking about, like all of it. I do personally think that he has better music than this movie. That's just my personal opinion. And
yeah, that's true. And I absolutely love this music. Again, it's like one of my favorite like scores of all time. It's because he took all the elements that were in that movie and combined them all in a score, and it turned out beautifully. Because you have like the chants in there, you have the gypsy feel to it, you know, you have an older Renaissance feel to it. And you combine all of them together, and it just turned out amazing.
I'm not saying it's a terrible score. I'm just saying that I feel like he has, in my opinion, better ones.
Oh, I know.
So, I mean, it's a good score, and I do like it. It's just, it's not my favorite. So,
and it's like, yeah, and I love it. So,
but it does fit well with the movie. So,
yeah, Menken is very good at incorporating like the themes and the story in the music.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's the music. We will have him again later on our list, as well as probably later in more Disney events. He's a very popular Disney composer. So comparison. There is a second one.
Yes.
And we both actually had the chance to watch this.
We did.
For me, it was boring. It was very predictable. The animation was not very good. And I felt like it was recycled.
Yeah, the story was really easy to predict. Like, and there's some really big names in that movie, too.
Yeah.
There is. I had to look it up. I was like, really? He's in this movie? Because at first, okay, I'm not going to lie. I thought it was Mark Hamill at first. But then I looked it up, and it's Michael McKean. And their voices and their voice acting is very similar, so it threw me off.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's one of the lower end sequels. There are some sequels to Disney movies that are actually really well done, and I really enjoy watching, like some of the Lilo and Stitch ones like we talked about last time. But for this one, this is not a sequel that I enjoy watching. This was the first time I had ever seen it, and I was not thrilled with it. Like, nothing really stuck out to me in this sequel.
Like, I watched them back to back, and just the animation style was just like night and day. Yeah, and I was watching, like, Logan watched it like for like a minute with me. Then he's like, "Can you put this somewhere else?" Because he's like, "I can't watch this anymore." And I was like, "I have to watch it. I'll watch it in a different room." And it was just like night and day with the animation style. Like, because this one, the animation is just really well done, mostly. And this one, the sequel is just, it seems cheap.
Yeah.
Very cheap. Like, that. I know it's a sequel, but still.
I feel like that's how a lot of the sequels are for Disney movies, is their animation. They give it to a secondary animation team because they know that this one's going to go straight to video. It's not going to go to the movies.
And if it's straight to video, then yeah, that's the way they do it. But some actually get actual theatrical releases.
Yeah, most of them do, but
this one I know didn't.
Yeah, this one got, it was a straight to DVD release. But, I mean, it's one of those, I think it's the lower end of the sequels. Along with, I Have Been Told Pocahontas. The second one is a lower end one. Oh,
don't get me started on that movie.
But then, we have, like, Lilo and Stitch, where the sequel to that one, I feel like, is really well done. So, it's all just a matter of what team they have on it, I feel like.
Yeah. It's like you can compare it to, like, Toy Story sequels.
Yeah. Toy Story sequels are another one that are up there.
Those are top notch.
Really well done. And I feel like it's just a matter of which team they put on it and how much confidence they have in the sequel.
There wasn't much confidence with this one.
Yeah. There's definitely not much confidence, and it's definitely not a sequel that I would recommend.
Yeah. I mean, if you like Hunchback, like, I was like, okay, I'll watch it, Hunchback. I was like, well, I feel like I wasted an hour. It's like, I could have been doing something else, but that's okay.
But yeah, so that's the second one. So, trivia?
Well, it's actually based off a book, Hunchback of Notre Dame. I read parts of it before. It's a really long book. So in the book wise, and even like in the musical, there's a musical, by the way, Hunchback of Notre Dame. It's pretty much a story. They changed it a little bit. And it's the archdeacon. He's the archdeacon instead of a judge. They changed that from the book because they didn't want religious people getting too mad.
Gotcha.
And I'm like, okay, that makes sense, all right. Also from the book that I remembered, it's Esmeralda's mother who gets killed on the steps. And not Quasimodo's mother.
Okay.
Claude inherits Quasimodo from, like, a relative of his.
Gotcha.
So there's that. Hellfire was almost cut from this movie. Because it was so dark. They had to change some of the animation with it, especially with Esmeralda's dress in the fire, because it looked like she was naked. So they had to make it more defined, and it's like, okay, she's actually wearing clothing, people. She really is. There was 2 actresses who played Laverne.
Oh, okay.
Because the original one, she passed away before finishing all of her lines. And so they had to get someone to fill in for her for the rest of the movie. And her stand-in actually did the voice of Laverne in the second movie. Also.
Oh, okay. That's why it seemed familiar in the second movie.
Mm-hmm. The gargoyles were supposed to be named after the 3 actors that had done it before Quasimodo. So that was going to be kind of cool. So, Chaney, Lofton, and Quinn. I've seen Lon Chaney's version. It's a silent film. It's good. It really is. I like it. I haven't seen the other 2 yet, but I'll get to them eventually. And speaking of the gargoyles, if you didn't catch that, 2 of the gargoyles are named after the author of the book,
That's
Victor
cool.
Hugo.
Yeah.
I giggled when I first, second or third showing, I was like, oh, those are named after the author. Okay, that's simple. That's easy. What else? And I'll say 2 more things. So like I said, with the music, they incorporated actual, Gregorian chant and Latin chant. And they actually took, it's in different parts of the movie. They include the Dies Irae, which you might recognize from Mozart's Requiem.
Okay.
Yeah. But I think there's also the connection because the actor who played... We'll get to see it, actually, when we get to this movie. But the actor who played Quasimodo in this is actually Mozart in Amadeus.
Oh.
We'll get to see Amadeus later. I think is really cool. And my last one. So The Bells of Notre Dame is actually Alan Menken's favorite. Huh. He says it's the best one he's ever written. His best opening number.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So, favorite line?
I'll go. Nobody wants to be cooped up here forever. This one just made me laugh. 10 of you and only one of me. What's a poor girl to do? This is when Esmeralda and Phoebus are fighting. And he comments on her fighting. And she says, he's like, oh, you fight as well as a girl. And she says, funny, I was going to say the same thing about you.
Yeah.
What do they have against people who are different? He made the devil so much stronger than a man. That's from, of course, Hellfire. This is from God Help the Outcast. I ask for nothing, I can get by, but I know so many less lucky than I. Then it goes on to, please help my people, the poor and downtrodden. And then my last one is, what makes a monster and what makes a man?
Okay. I have, life's not a spectator sport. You speak of justice, yet you mistreat the ones who most need your help. Frollo's nose is long and he wears a dress when they're trying to figure out, when they're listening to them talking.
I love the next line. He's like, ha, I knew it, cough it up.
With all due respect, sir, I was not trained to murder the innocent. Quick, we gotta stash the stiff. And then we just thought maybe you were made of something stronger. So this one's yours, so you get to pick.
I know, there's some good lines. I've always liked this line. I'm gonna go with it. It's in both the beginning and the end. What makes a monster and what makes a man?
So what is your rating?
I am giving it an 8. Again. Strong music. Love it. I like the story a lot. One of my favorite villains. I will say I'll give it a little negative. Sometimes the animation doesn't hold up. I've been thinking about this ever since you commented on this, last year before that, about the background animation. Yeah. About, the sceneries and how it's not as always well-defined as it should be. And I was thinking about that when I was watching it. And I was like, sometimes that's not the case that it's so well-defined. So I had to take a little bit for that. But overall, it's an 8 for me.
Okay. So for me, this is a 7. Like I said earlier, this is just kind of in the middle for Disney movies for me. I don't hate it, but I don't love it. I do, there is some of the animation, like you were just talking about some of the background animation. There is some times when you get to see the water in the background. I like what they were able to do with that. And that was super simple animation there with the water, just kind of adding glittery hints here and there throughout the water in the background. So I thought they did a good job with that, at least in the background. But for the most part, I agree with you. The background animation is not that great. The gargoyles, I really like them. They're probably my favorite part of this movie. And there is some kind of forward-thinking animation. They're kind of close to the end. We get an almost 3D feel in animation there. Like I said, this story it's not really my favorite story, really. There were a couple references to some other movies that I did enjoy, like the old prisoner guy, the one that was in the cage at first and then ended up in the lock thing, the headlock thing. Yep. He reminded me of the Aladdin when Jafar is disguised as the prisoner. Yeah. I don't know if that was a nod to that, but he did have that same kind of look to him.
It's very possible.
The Wizard of Oz reference, they even put that music in there.
Yeah, that was on purpose.
I liked that. But yeah, for me, this is just kind of in the middle of Disney movies. There's some that I don't like as much as this one, and then there's some that I like better than this one. So this one is a 7 for me. So our next one is Oliver and Company. So we will see you in just a few minutes for that movie. Bye!
Bye!